All right, so getting back into it, tactics. The main tactics is one, file an answer. You can use solo suit to file an answer. It's super easy. All right. So step 2 is to send a debt lawsuit settlement letter. You usually want to send that debt lawsuit settlement letter around 30 days or within 30 days after filing the answer document. All right, so you want to give the opposing side time to realize that you answered, but you want to send it before they decide what to do next. So before they decide to file another court document or file for discovery, etc. You want to get them right there in the time of their weakness, because that's the time when you have the most power. All right, so right after you file an answer document is when you have a lot of leverage. You've proven, hey, I actually know what the heck I'm doing. I can respond to this lawsuit. I can fight this lawsuit. So it'd be more beneficial to you if you just settle this case right now. If you try to settle before the answer, they're gonna be like, hey, this noob, doesn't even know how to respond to the lawsuit. Why the heck am I gonna settle with this guy? I can just sue him and I can garnish his wages, right? So settling after you file the answer is the opportune time to do that. All right, so we're gonna help you determine how much you should offer as a settlement. All right, first thing is that you want to make a lump sum payment offer rather than a payment plan. All right, a lump sum payment is when you offer to pay off, you just offer to settle the debt for one payment right now. So you get to resolve it right now and there's no real risk of you messing it up. Also, you will pay less in the long run on a lump sum payment. On a payment plan, however, you have to end up paying more over a longer period of time. There's more ways for you to mess it up, like you can miss a payment. And also it doesn't resolve the issue now, right? It might not resolve the issue for even years to come. So lump sum payment is the best way to go. So you first have to ask yourself, how much money, how much cash do I have on hand right now? All right, so basically, how much money is in your bank account? Is it $100? Is it $10,000? How much money do you have available to yourself? And then, if you don't have much money available right now, how much money can you have available within a month or after one payment period? And then, is the person that's suing you, is it a debt buyer or is it the original creditor? That makes a huge difference. For a debt buyer, they bought the debt for only 8% on average of the face value of the debt. Okay, so if it's a $100 debt, then they bought that debt for only $8. That means if you paid them the full amount, the full $100, they're gonna make a killing, they're gonna make a ton of money. But even if you paid them only $10, they'd still, all being equal, they'd still make a profit of $2. So, pretty good deal for them, great deal for you. All right, so generally we think of debt buyers as being willing to settle for between 1% up to 60% of the debt. All right, 1% is probably pretty unreasonable, but more like 10% to 60% of the debt, probably gonna be able to settle somewhere in that range. With an original creditor, however, they gave you all of that money, right? So if you're being sued by American Express for credit card debt and it's $10,000, they probably lent you that full $10,000. Maybe they lent you $9,000, there's an additional $1,000 in interest or a fee, something like that. But they lent you a lot of that money, so they're going to be unwilling to settle for a lot lower than that. But that said, even with original creditors, we see a range being between 20% and 70% of the debt. All right, so somewhere in there is, so that's the range. Somewhere within those percentages is where you can peg your offer. Okay, so let's say you're being sued for $10,000 by a debt buyer, then your target amount, the target amount that you want to not pay more than is 50%. So $500 of the debt. The key words here are the Ackerman approach. The Ackerman approach is a really solid negotiation tactic. It's loved by academics. It's also in the book by Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference, a former FBI hostage negotiator. Great tactic for negotiating. I'm going to show you exactly how it works. So now that you have this target amount, that's step 1 is make your target amount. Step 2 is initiate with an offer of 65% of that target amount. Again, just for the simplicity of math, let's take our target amount. Let's say it's just $100. So you take that $65 and make that first offer to the debt collector. And then the debt collector is going to receive that offer and they'll say, it's too low for us. Maybe we could do, they might come down a little bit closer to your target amount, but not there yet. So then you're going to use empathy to say no, right? So you're going to say how am I supposed to do that? And, I wish I could, but it's just not in my budget. It's really embarrassing, but I can't accept that offer. Okay, you can say stuff like that. let them know you're being polite, but it's just not in the cards for you. So then, your second offer, you bump it up. You come up quite a bit. You jump 20% up to 85%. So your second offer is going to be, maybe I could do $85. Then they're going to counter. They're going to say, maybe they'll actually accept it, but let's say they counter. They'll say, no, that's too low for us. So then your third offer is 95%. You'll see that the jump between the second and third is just 10% rather than 20%, right? So the jumps are getting smaller each time. And they might, again, accept it, or maybe they'll counter. And then on your fourth offer, you're going to say 100%. And, hopefully at this point, they'll see that, oh, this fourth offer, it only jumped up 5%. Wow, this guy must be reaching the end of his budget, right? He must really not have any more money that he can spend. And in that case, right, they'll just hopefully accept that offer. But if they again counter, then you jump in with 100% plus non-monetary. Okay, so at this point you could say, hey, I really don't have any more money. I can offer you $100 plus like a box of cookies, right? Something, just throw something in there to let them know, like, hey, you still want to make this deal work, but you are actually at your limit, right? It's actually a final offer. I cannot do more than that. You still want to make this deal work, but you are actually at your limit, right? It's actually a final offer. I cannot do more than that. And at this point, hopefully they accept that offer, or even before they accept the offer. So they accepted your offer, now what? Well, now you make a settlement agreement. Okay, oftentimes debt collectors are like the more sophisticated party in this situation than like the person offering them the settlement. So usually they're going to make the settlement agreement. Usually they have one drafted. But just in case, you got to make sure there's a few things on the settlement agreement, okay? Because this is a document, kind of like a contract, documenting the agreement that you arrived at. Okay, you got to make sure that it says, like, hey, we settled this debt. We settled this $100,000 debt for $10,000. Right, let's make sure that they can't mess around with you. Alright, another thing you got to make sure is in there is the language settlement in full, in quotes, because you got to have that exact term in there. That's saying that this is fully settled, everything is taken care of. Just for good record keeping, you want to make sure that the case number of the lawsuit is in there. Also probably want to make sure that the account number for the debt collector for your account is in there, as well as like the account number for the bank or the loan is in there. Another thing you got to make sure is dismiss with prejudice. You want that language in there. If they dismiss the case, you want to make sure that the debt collector says they will dismiss the lawsuit with prejudice. That means that it will be taken out of court, you'll win the lawsuit effectively, and they can never sue you for the matter again. If they don't have the phrase with prejudice in there, then they can and probably will sue you again for this debt. And then lastly, you just got to make sure you have the date of the agreement. It's just good for record keeping to have that in there. Alright, once you have the settlement agreement, you have to figure out the payment. Okay, once that settlement agreement is there, you should feel pretty safe making a payment to them. Usually check is easiest. A lot of these debt collectors have like online payment portals, but they oftentimes ask for a ton of personal information, and they aren't very easy to use. So if you have a checkbook, I know a lot of people probably don't. I haven't had checkbooks for a while, right? Because it's like, who even has a pen? Who has a pen to write on a piece of paper? Not a lot of people. But if you have a checkbook, you can send them a check. Probably what's better than that is actually going to your bank and getting a cashier check, right? So you pay the bank, let's say you're settling for $100, you pay the bank $100, they give you a cashier's check for $100, that's like pre-approved. Or you can do a money order, you go to the post office, pay them $100, they give you a money order, you mail that to the collector. The reason cashier's check and money orders are probably better is because it doesn't allow the debt collector to engage in dirty tricks and like wait like a year before they cash that check or something like that, right? Or like 90 days. They wait until like the moment, like the last day of the month when they know you haven't been paid and you might not have the money in your bank account still, to cash that check. Right? So if you pay them with a secured payment like a cashier check or money order, you'll make sure that money is taken out of your bank account and that they get that money. Then the final step here of these tactics is you got to follow up to make sure that the debt collector actually files for dismissal. Right? So you sent them the money, you have the settlement agreement, but it's really not over until they file for dismissal in court. So you got to make sure that they send a motion to dismiss with prejudice to the court approves it, and that's the official resolution of the lawsuit. All right, so hound them, make sure that they get that in the court, make sure that that's taken care of properly.